The pass goes Stabler. Looking. He runs. He's at the 15. He's thrown. It is a touchdown Raiders. Touchdown Raiders. When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.
Get fired up. I ain't playing. I'm telling you, get fired up. Stand up. Get out of that chair, moron. It's time for the Degos. That's right, Murph and Sonny from the Dago Dungeon. You got it right here, live.
Welcome in to the Raiders Riportare with your hosts, Sonny and the Murph. I am so glad to be back in the Dago Dungeon doing this show, Murph, that we created, I think, over 2 years ago. We're bringing it back. I'm excited. How about yourself?
I can't wait. It's nice to get back to our roots a little bit. You know, we've kind of been fumbling our way through this podcasting thing for many years now, and one thing always remains true. One thing is always consistent, and that is our commitment. Our commitment to excellence and our commitment to the Raider Nation, Sonny. It's in our blood, dude. It's what we do. We've tried to do a bunch of different things, and at the end of the day, it all ends up doing what? We end up talking about the friggin' Raiders. So let's have a Raider podcast.
Is it bad that we tried to do a father-son podcast, and then we try to do a family podcast, and we've done it all, and yet nothing gets us excited as doing a Raider podcast? So whether we're the typical American sports fan or just Raiders fans, I don't know what, but I'm stoked, and I'm ready to do this podcast until I'm 70 years old.
I'm with you. Let's finally let's kick this one.
It's probably going to take that long for the Raiders to win a championship. Murph, do you know who the leading tackler is on the Raiders right now?
I'm guessing it's somebody in the secondary.
Do you know that when a team's leading tackler is in the secondary, what kind of problems that team is having? Unfreaking believable. Reggie Nelson, Murph. Not any of the other 10 guys that are closer to the line of scrimmage. It's the guy who is the furthest away from the ball. That is your leading tackler for the Oakland Raiders. Now, I know the defense has gotten everybody's talked about it. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. But that stat alone right there tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it not?
Well, it's certainly indicative of what the big problems are. And as we know, the front seven is an issue. And I think that we have some spots. I mean, obviously, Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin. But even that, man, I mean, everyone's dependent on Heaney, you know, and everyone wants to depend on Malcolm Smith. But when you look at what those guys are being asked to do and the amount of coverages and stuff that they're talking and their inability to get any pressure up front with the front guys. I mean, we've been hearing nonstop in the offseason about this pass rush, right? Oh, Khalil Mack, going to be the defensive player of the year, and him and Bruce Irvin now bookending it. And, you know, look what they did with Aldon Smith. You know, can you imagine what they're going to do now if you put in Bruce Irvin out there? And, you know, I know Mario Edwards is out, and I know that that's definitely hurt. That certainly hasn't helped, but come on, man. We got to be better than that up front. And so, yeah, we signed Reggie Nelson to replace Charles Woodson, and, you know, it's a nice replacement, but I don't think it's as good of a replacement. I mean, even if Charles Woodson at 38 years old or 39 years old, whatever he was last year, I mean, even that, it's still a drop off, right? But yeah, dude, I mean, there's some major issues going on up front, and I'm surprised because I thought that obviously the offense was going to be the strength of this team, and we've seen that. But I'm surprised at the lack of natural pressure that we're getting and the lack of creativity on defense. You don't see a lot of the stuff that they were doing towards the end of last year, you know, when we started seeing guys get double teamed, guys like Mack, and some of the stuff that we're doing to create the freedom for the other linebackers to get around in there. Man, we're not seeing it. And the other thing too is that didn't Reggie or anybody else recognize this was a need in the offseason? Now look, you and I aren't watching Ben Heaney in practice. We've got to see Malcolm Smith, you know, over the past couple of years now, and he's a pretty decent player. I think he's better than what people are giving him credit for now. And Heaney showed flashes last year. He has a nose for being around the ball, going all the way back to his time at Kansas. The guy shows that he's just one of those players that's just around the ball all the time. But if they're that bad, okay, supposedly, Shouldn't they have addressed this in the offseason? Didn't we see players like Danny Trevathan leave the Broncos and go over to the Bears? Like, didn't we see good inside middle linebackers make moves out there in the offseason? And if with all the other offseason moves we've had, shouldn't this been more of a concern? And then another thing, and then I'll shut up, but I get fired up about this stuff, Sonny, because it's the freaking Oakland Raiders. Is it a problem because our guys aren't covering long enough in the secondary to allow that pressure to get generated up front? Because as we know, whether it's one way or the other, pass rush and coverage goes hand in hand. That you got to have pressure up front.
They feed the other. One feeds the other.
They feed. One feeds the other. One absolutely feeds the other. So is it which one of them? Is it the chicken or the egg on this? I kind of feel like it's both. And I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to shut up. I promise.
Well, you just said you're going to say one more thing and shut up.
No, I mean for really real this time. And speaking of Reggie Nelson, I know guys are giving a lot of crap to Sean Smith, but if you look at Reggie Nelson and look,
he blew the coverage on the deep ball. His hips were out of placement. It was awful.
It was awful. He totally blew. It's bracket coverage. You can't turn inside and give that guy the inside. It's Julio friggin' Jones we're talking about here. We're not talking about giving it up to some chump wide receiver. You're talking about one of the best in the NFL. And guess what's going to happen when they got to play Demaryius Thomas? Okay, I'm finished now.
Did you watch last night's game, Patriots and Texans?
I got it on in the background as we're sitting here. I watched it partially. Yes, their defense is stacked.
Patriots won 27-0. I think it was 27-0. Rookie quarterback. Texans have a vaunted defense, if you will. I think when you have great coaching, it doesn't matter the players. You plug and play, and you find ways to win. When you have great players, I think you can overcome lack of great defensive schemes, if you will. I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm kind of coming with this thought just off the top of the dome here. The Tampa 2 in Tampa Bay Bucks, we all know the Tampa 2 as Raider fans. There was nothing special about that defense. It was simply cover 2 with the middle linebacker playing extra deep, almost as a safety or the linebacker when needed. And that defense destroyed people because of the talent they had on the roster. So when you look at the Raiders, they don't have either of those things. They don't have super great players on defense who can sit in a cover 2 or a Tampa 2 or a cover 3 and dominate simply because they're better than everybody else. And they don't have the superior coaching on defense to take crappy players and make them make mediocre players and make them all-stars because of the coaching scheme like Belichick does. And so I don't think it's either. I don't think you can't blame 100% on the coaches, and you can't blame 100% on Ben Heaney and Smith and Nelson and stuff like that. Were those guys out of position multiple times? Yeah. Were two guys covering I think a drag route and then the tight end slipped behind them for a huge gain? Yes. Is that Ken Norton's fault? I don't think so. That's on the players for not recognizing the coverage. But at the same time, is it Norton's fault or Del Rio's fault for Reggie Nelson playing too far in and Julio just taking that thing downtown? No, that's not Norton's fault. That's Nelson's fault, So I think it's both, man. I don't think we can put the blame on one or the other. And I think the only thing that's going to save this season, essentially, for the Raiders is time. I mean, if you think about, remember, what was it, like 4, 5, 6 years ago? Remember the Philadelphia Eagles defense coming into the season? I think it's when they stole Asamoah from us. They were stacked, right? I can't remember all the people on the team. But all the pundits, everybody was like, this Eagles defense is going to be everything. They got all the big-name players, yada, 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 yada. And they sucked. Why? Because there was no chemistry, man. They didn't gel together. It's one thing to be great individual players, but if you don't know what your safety's doing over the top of you, it doesn't matter how great you are as a linebacker, that safety's going to, do something you're not expecting him to do. And so I think, in all honesty, I don't think we need to add new people all on Twitter, all the Twitter GMs this week. We need to bring in this guy. We need to talk to Bowman. Get him over here. Nah, screw all that stuff. We need these guys to gel, give them time, and let's see how this thing plays out.
I couldn't agree with you more. And, if anything, free agency has shown us is exactly that you can't just take a bunch of great players and stick them on a team and expect success. Otherwise, the Washington Redskins would win the Super Bowl every year, going back to, since Dan Snyder's been around.
We would have. We've done that forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, D'Angelo Hall, ring any bells? Yeah. Javon Walker, hello. You know what I mean? Like, listen, the Raiders were the kings of acquiring high-priced free agents for a long time. So, and you're right. And the Philadelphia team you were referring to was that was when Vince Young dubbed them the Dream Team. Yeah, nightmare, more like it. But you're right, and they're still. They're humans. They could be the most talented football players in the world, but they're human beings, and this is why football is the ultimate team sport. This is why football is the ultimate team that relies on everything. It's not, you're right, it's not just players. It's not just coaching. It's not just the secondary. It's not just the front seven. It's everything. Everything has to work collectively in order to attain success. That's why Belichick is a dang genius.
He is, man.
Because he has a way of making it all work despite the pieces, despite the coaches, despite the strategy. I heard today people are freaking bringing up the fact that, because the Patriots are winning, is Tom Brady a system quarterback? Get the F out of here. Are you kidding me? That's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Why? Because they've had how many systems since he's been around? One year he was throwing 50 touchdown passes to Randy Moss. One year he was throwing it to tight ends. One year he was throwing it to every 5'9" white wide receiver that existed.
Or running backs.
One year was Corey Dillon or Stephen Ridley or now LeGarrette Blount. They do there is no system. There's just Belichick. And so that's what's genius. So you're right, is that he's the only one, at least in our lifetime, that's been able to overcome it regardless of the pieces. And guess what? We don't have Bill Belichick. We got Jack Del Rio. We got Ken Norton. And those guys are fine. So over time, you're right. Will they gel? Will they improve? Yes. Is it panic mode?
I don't
No.
know if they will. That remains to be seen. To be honest with you, we do this every year as Raider fans. I don't know. I don't know anything else but to be a Raider fan, so I can't really compare it to other teams. But it seems like we do this worse than any other fan base in the history of sports, all across the board, even the Chicago Cubs, is that we have so much hope going into the season, and then week 1 or week 2, our hopes are dashed, usually by the first quarter. And then we're like, all right, the season's over, F these Raiders, blow it all up, let's redo it all, right? So we're so used to this quick fix, quick blow up. We cannot keep doing that as Raiders fans. We have to let things play out. Let's see how they go. So in all honesty, I don't know if time is going to work. I don't know if these guys are going to gel together. That remains to be seen. But I do think that's the only way to see if this thing is going to work or not. You have to let it play out. Don't make any drastic changes. Don't fire Norton. Don't let Del Rio start calling the plays. Don't do anything. Let it play out and let's see what happens. Because eventually they're either going to figure it out or they're going to keep sucking, and then we'll know what to do. But what I don't want to do is keep making these knee-jerk reactions like we've always done in the past, and then and then we're waiting for that next thing to gel. Because every time we make a decision, there always has to be time for it to gel. So I don't know. I'm so frustrated.
Well, and I'm with you, and that's what I was going to say is that you got to give it time. And I say it will improve because it will improve. You can't not get better the more and more time you spend together. Here's something else too to consider, and this is where the Twitter GMs and the overreactive fan forgets. There is way less contact now in today's NFL in the offseason than there ever has been in the history of the game. Okay? There is less opportunities for these guys to not only to have contact together, but to spend time together, period. Okay, there is less time. So when you have off-season acquisitions or draft picks or anybody come in, there is less time for those guys to spend together. Well, if you don't think it's important for Sean Smith and Reggie Nelson to spend time together, watch the damn film. Okay, it's very important for those guys to understand how to work together. And so nowadays, unfortunately, you got to do that stuff on the field. That's why to go back to the Patriots again. That's why their example works, because as much time as they get people that come in and come out and all that, they also have that nucleus that it's the Patriot way, right? It's the Willie McGinnis, it's the Tom Brady, it's the Teddy Bruschi, it's whatever. Those guys that are constant.
There's a culture there.
There's a culture that's Patrick Chung nowadays, okay? It's becoming Malcolm Butler. It's Jamie Collins, okay? Those guys, they're constants there, and that veteran presence, and it helps bring the newer acquisitions along a lot faster. Yeah. Where is our veteran presence on defense now? He's sitting in the freaking ESPN studios is where he's at, sitting there with Randy Moss. It's Charles Woodson. And if people don't think that had a huge impact on our ability to get that defense to gel and to come along, they're sorely mistaken. Woodson's departure had a much bigger impact on our defense than the X's and O's on the field because there's no one who's there to bring them along. Yeah. Who's the guy?
True.
Who's it? Dan Williams? Like that's now our, Malcolm Smith. Those are our vets now that you know what I'm saying? Like there's nobody there that's a stalwart in that defense anymore. Now there will be. Khalil Mack is going to be the leader of that defense for a long, long time. If we do this podcast, probably Khalil Mack will outlast us, probably. Okay? All he's got to do is make it 7 weeks and he probably will. But you know what I'm saying? Based on history. But you know what I'm saying? Like Derek Carr is going to be the man on offense.
I think he is.
He's going to
I think he already is.
Well, and he already is. And so was Khalil Mack. But what I mean, as far as veteran presence, veteran leadership goes and knowing how to be a leader, 3 years in, man, they don't know yet. They're still learning.
I think Carr is ahead of Mack in terms of leadership ability and rallying the team around you. I think Carr has a better grasp and a better control of the offense than Mack does on the defense as far as being that leader position. And I think that just might be because Carr's a quarterback, and so naturally that comes faster to the quarterback.
Yes. That's exactly right. And you know what? When Khalil Mack, he had some lulls last year too. That's the other thing is that here's where the talent portion of this comes into play. He's not going to be quiet for 16 games. The guy had 5 sacks in Denver last year when we went in there and we beat the Donkeys in their crib against Brock Osweiler and pretty much knocked him out and gave him a window for Peyton to come back into playing quarterback for that team. So he's going to get his sacks. He's going to be active. And the more that happens, he'll become a J.J. Watt type figure. He'll become a Von Miller type figure. Yeah, whatever, same. They're that I know their style of pass rush is different, but it's J.J. Watt's player. That dominance, and frankly, that ability to capture a fan base, that on and off the field presence. I think Khalil Mack's got it. He's a little bit more quiet than like what Vaughn is, but Vaughn wasn't like it. He wasn't dancing in cowboy hats on Madden commercials when he first came in the league. You know what I mean? Like that was an evolution, and then J.J. Watt as well. So I think Mack's going to get to that point. Here's where the good news comes, man. Is that. And I'm with you. We are, as Raider fans, we are eternally optimistic every single year. And it's funny. I feel like I have deja vu every year. I'm in my kitchen. Every year I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, man, I think we're going to be pretty good this year. And she gives me that look and goes, no, they're not. And I'm like, yes, no, really. They are. I promise you we're going to be good this year. And she goes, okay, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, no, really. And she goes, oh, yeah, you mean like when that one guy, that Terrell Pryor guy was going to be your franchise quarterback? I'm like, no, but this is different. And she's like, okay, tell me how. I'm like, well, it just is.
I'm surprised you're still married.
Oh, my gosh. She's a saint putting up with me.
No, I'm surprised you haven't left for those comments she's made.
Yeah, so my point, though, is this, and here's where the good news comes into play, is that we have the kind of general manager that's going to make sure that these types of players, guys like Mack, guys like Carr, they're not going to go anywhere. Okay, as good as they are now, think about what these guys are going to be like year 5, year 6, year 7. Dude, like that's when they're going to become yes, you're right. They are leaders, and Derek Carr is definitely showing to be a leader. But now when he starts getting 4, 5, 6 seasons under his belt, dude, he's going to this might be crazy Raider fan talk, but I really believe it. And I'm the first one to call out the Raiders when they've done something stupid. And we have had stupid quarterbacks since Rich Gannon. But this is the guy.
What do you call Braun who could screw a whole football team? Jay Schroeder.
So I'm telling you, Derek Carr is going to be maybe not in success on the field, but I'm talking about representative of the league and
he'll be a poster.
It's a figure of leadership. He'll be a poster boy. He'll be Peyton. He'll be Tom Brady's getting ready to retire. Ben Roethlisberger's getting ready to retire. He's already
bring up a guy who was accused of playing with soft balls and another guy who rapes people. Come on, those are bad comparisons.
You know what I'm
Drew
talking
Brees.
about.
He's a good guy.
All right, Drew Brees is getting ready to retire. These guys are on their way out. Who's on their way up? Derek friggin' Carr. And he's got to be on the short list. It's got to be Cam. It's got to be him. Maybe Jameis.
Cam won't ever be it. He has too much around him. There's too much around him.
Dude, Cam is now, dude. He's the now.
I know he's the now, but he'll never be the
Cam is the now.
Cam
is the now, and Derek is the future, and it will be similar to like Cam is the in between, right? Like when you had like Peyton and overlapped Marino, right? And then like in the middle there was like Brett Favre, like you know what I mean? Like that's kind of high. Like that's what I look at Cam. Like you got Brady at the end, Carr overlapped him a little bit, and in the middle is Cam. He's like one of those guys. He's like because you think about the greatest quarterbacks in the league right now, he's the only one that's like in his prime.
Yeah.
Like other than that, they're either a little younger than him or they're older. Like he's the only one that's in that middle portion right now. Like he's gonna rule the roost, dude. But then once he's kind of starts hitting his veteran years, that's when all these other guys, are gonna start hitting. That's when, who knows? It might be Carson Wentz. It's for sure going to be Derek.
Carson Wentz played 2 crappy teams so far. Let's
Pennsylvania, baby.
Pennsylvania. Let's jump over to the offensive side real quick. Everybody was pissing all over Musgrave. Go to the grave, Musgrave. Whatever. Blah 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 blah. The dude, I think, has put together a pretty good offense thus far. A couple things that stick out to me. Number one, the Raiders only have 4 plays that have had negative yardage in 2 games. The league average is 12. So kudos there. Also, the Raiders have no turnovers, which is phenomenal.
Wow.
So, that's not so much credit to Musgrave, but credit to Carr. Everybody holding on to the ball and stuff like that. He's only averaging 5 yards, I think, or I read some stat like that, or his passing average is 5 yards. But looking at Raiders stats right now through 2 games, the average pass is going for 7.4 yards a completion, and the average rushing play is going for 6.3 yards per carry. And again, knowing that if you're running the ball, you're averaging over 6 yards, and you pass the ball, you're averaging over 7 yards. While that's a little low, the league average is 10.8 yards per completion, so we're about 3 yards under that. But we're not turning the ball over, and we're rushing for 6 yards a carry when the league average is only 4 yards a carry. Man, 2 plays we should have first downs. Our offense should be putting up Josh, our offense is putting up points. It all comes back to the defense. No. But, man, are you stoked about the offensive play with Murray, with Richard, with Washington? Sometimes I'm like, take Murray out, put Washington and Richard in. And then those guys do good. Then you put Murray back in. He has a couple good runs. You're like, we got a 3-headed monster running game right now, right? Do you like Carr dinking and dunking? Are they doing a little West Coast offense, old school here? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like it because I think that he's reined himself in a little bit. I think that when you watch him, I'll go back to again last year. We beat Denver in Denver, but if you remember when we lost in Oakland, he threw a pick 6 to lose the game. Like he was trying to force the ball in over the middle, and Chris Harris, jacked him and took it to the house. And so, I would much rather have a guy be a little bit more conservative and take the for sure yardage, take the for sure completions, and not turn the ball over. Because if you look at the first 2 games, it's not like they've been, down. Well, wait, maybe they have been down 2 scores, haven't they? It's right. So you can still come back in the game and not force it. Everybody's got
in every game. Both games late in the fourth quarter. And that's what you want, right? That's what you want.
That's exactly what you want. And it's not Madden. Just because you go down 2 scores doesn't mean you got to start throwing the ball 30 yards downfield every single play. There's a reason that you throw a lot of interceptions when you do that in Madden. It's the same thing as in real life. is that just because you get down, it's the NFL. You can grind your way back, and you grind your way back through the running game, through high percentage passes. That's the way you bring it back. When you look, Michael Crabtree is not going to outrun anybody downfield. He's gonna outbreak them on slants, out routes, comebacks. That's what he's good at. So that's what you utilize. Okay, they don't have a vertical threat at the tight end position. Walford's starting to come around a little bit, and I did dig that long pass play
That was nice.
To him in the end zone, and that was real nice. And Cooper, while he's definitely fast, but he's not like that elite crazy
fast,
speed
no.
where he's. No, he's not elite fast, but he's kind of like a hybrid. Like he's pretty quick, but he's got that good route running skills that Crabtree does. I'll tell you what's something else that's kind of hurting the passing game: the freaking dropsies. Gosh, Cooper.
Ooh, yeah.
Get that kid some gloves or something. Or I'm like, why? It's amazing that freaking double jump that the guy makes over the middle of the field. Okay, and hauls in that pass.
Jumped early, didn't he? I mean, it was a cool play. But he jumped early. Come on now.
He jumped early. But the fact that he found a second jump while he was already in the middle of the first jump, like that was amazing.
Jordan.
But then on a freaking, then you got him on like a hook, like a 10-yard hook, for a first down, and he freaking clanks it. I'm like, you kidding me? Like, he's got to get that figured out. That's got to get figured. You can't be, and I know it's his second year, and I'm not picking on him, I promise. But look, if he's going to be an elite wide receiver, Antonio Brown doesn't do that, right? Like Edelman doesn't do that. Like you can't be dropping those, Amari. Like we need to get that part figured out. But yeah, dude, I'm stoked about the offense. And then the running game, you touched on that. I love our bowling balls, man. That's what they remind me. They remind me of a Maurice Jones-Drew, not a Raiders Maurice Jones-Drew, but the Jacksonville Jaguars version of Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yeah.
A Ray Rice type, just a kind of undersized, but will get lost behind the line of scrimmage a little bit, and find holes and when Richard gets in the open field, we hadn't seen Washington other than the preseason get in the open field, but dude, when he gets in the open field, he's gone, dude. Like he's fast, man. Like I love it. I think. I do. I like, and of course, our quarterbacks is our offensive line, rock stars, man. You want to talk about
beasts? They're beasts.
Dude, talk about and you want to talk about gelling? Those guys are gelled because it doesn't matter where they go, and that's the thing that I think is cool is that when you look at now you got guys like Hudson and Penn that have been playing together now for X amount of time. Melanick Watson, these even Austin Howard, they've been together a while. These guys have all been around each other for a few years now. And it's evident because it doesn't matter. You know how hard it is to switch a position in an NFL game? Are you kidding me? Like these guys are, when you're a lock at tackle and you got to move to guard and you got to know all the different protections for that position. Like for those guys to make those moves and still be successful, that's impressive. That part of it, the line play, which often gets overlooked.
It's our strongest attribute on offense. It's stronger than Derek.
It is.
Which is why we're running the ball so efficiently and why we haven't had a lot of turnovers. I don't think we've given up a lot of sacks either.
Not that I can recall.
The Raiders have one sack against them, and they've only had 2 sacks for their defense. So when we play people straight up, we're having more sacks than them. But 2 sacks through 2 games is awful. But in 2 games to only give up 1 sack. Credit to the offensive line, and credit to Mike Tice, who was an actual offensive line coach. Most of the time you get freaking Jim Tomasula to go coach your offensive line because you just promote the ball boy up, But Mike Tice is an actual offensive line coach who knows what the hell he's doing and can coach these guys and make adjustments. And so I think that's why our offensive line, on top of the talent, when I talked about earlier, Belichick versus having great talent, our offensive line has great talent and has the great offensive line coach. So they should be gelling like that, right?
Well, and when you look at all the former head coaches that are on this staff, it's evident that, you know what I mean? And you mentioned Mike Tice, and you're right. And it absolutely. And the other thing I think that plays into that, to the lack of sacks too, is that, and here's when I get excited about the on-field part of watching Derek Carr. Not only we discussed about how he's going to be a leader and and all kind of be a figurehead, the NFL, yada yada, all that stuff. But when you look at the way he plays, and I talked a lot about Cam a minute ago, and I should have put Aaron Rodgers in that discussion too, because he's kind of that same age range, like he's kind of in there in that middle group. When Carr made that throw and the play that went to Cooper, and sadly Cooper went out of bounds and came back in.
Was he pushed?
Was the first one to touch the ball.
Quick question. Could we not have challenged that? Because it sure looked like he was pushed out.
I mean,
can you not challenge that call?
I don't know. I don't know if you could challenge it or not, but I think that it was. I mean, I don't know if it would have been. I mean, Jack was already 2 for 2 on challenges in that game, so I guess.
But he earned a third one.
Could have.
He earned a third one. I mean, because
he earned a third one. Yeah.
Games.
So it would have been his third challenge. So I mean, I don't know if you could challenge that one or not. It certainly looked like he was, but he also, he was running up so close down the sideline that it's tough. That's a kind of a judgment call, And so anyway, but that said, so he goes out of bounds. He's the first one to touch the ball, negates the play, negates the touchdown. But everything that led up to that pass, okay, if you were to swap out that black number 4 for a green number 12, you tell me that doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers back there.
Aaron Rodgers sucks,
Carr,
to be honest with you. If you looked at his passing stats over the last 2 years, he hasn't had like over 90 quarterback rating in years.
That's not what that's completely irrelevant to what I'm talking about.
No, it's not. Drop your man crush. He's done.
Oh, wait, will you quit it for a second?
Olivia Munn ruined Aaron Rodgers. Just say.
Watch a Packer game one of these days, and you'll see that despite
he's not that good.
Oh my gosh! Will you shut it for a second? Let me finish. Like talking to freaking family over here.
I said finish.
Yeah, you said go, and then you jump in. You tell me when you're done. And you had a sound effect for when it's my turn?
Finish. Like Olivia Munn finished Aaron Rodgers. Finish him. Go.
You ready? I'm speaking in reference to what he does in the pocket. And despite what Aaron Rodgers' numbers are, when you watch him play a game, there are numerous times through every single game where there will be pressure on him, the pocket will collapse, and he will escape out. And when you watch his footwork, there is nobody.
Sorry. I'm agreeing with you. Go.
There is nobody better than Aaron Rodgers as far as escapability via footwork. Now, you got guys like Big Ben who are 6'8", 900 pounds, and people just bounce off of him. Same thing with Cam Newton when you're 6'5", 240 or 260, whatever the heck he is. You're big monsters. Yeah, they're elusive, but a lot of it is body size. Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers aren't that type of guy, and they do it by their footwork. And Breeze is like that too. Or used to be, not so much anymore. But it's amazing to me the way that those guys get out of danger in the pocket and avoid sacks and then make the throw. And that's the thing about Rodgers, that he makes those blind throws that they end up in the hands of receivers for touchdowns. It's amazing. But Derek Carr looked like Rodgers on that play. The way that he skirted the would-be tacklers and got himself out of the pocket and moved. I mean, that dude was moving around back there for like 3 seconds and then found Cooper for the touchdown. It's sad that play didn't count, because I'm telling you, that was absolutely impressive. And when it comes to that, I don't think anybody else out there can move his feet like that.
That was a game changer play that brings us right back in the game. That was brutal.
That was brutal.
Do you know how much your second kid weighs, Josh?
Actually, I do. Yes,
you do. You know how much your first kid weighs?
Right now, yes, I do, because he just got weighed for football.
Okay. Do you think it's weird that we know how much Ben Roethlisberger weighs?
Well, I said he was 900 pounds.
Well, I was just, I
did know I do know Cam. I do know his size.
How tall is Michael Jordan?
6'6".
Is it weird that we know these things?
I don't know. Is he 6'6" or 6'9"?
6'6".
That's what I thought. 6'6" out of North Carolina.
Is it
Michael. Remember that? That was a great intro,
do you ever just think it's weird how, like, we just know other grown men's stats? If this wasn't sports, not that there's anything wrong with that. Amari Cooper, 9 targets.
Can I tell you? Hold on. Can I tell you a story on that?
Are you done? Can I finish? Are
you
done?
No, I got an anecdote that fits into what you're saying. Today's my anniversary. Today's my 14th wedding anniversary to my beautiful bride. Thank you, who has put up with me.
A single men's face that you've been married for 14 years. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, no, I want you to think of it like this. When we met, the Raiders went to the Super Bowl.
Ah.
Yeah.
14
And
years.
what's happened since? Yeah. And what's happened since? Okay.
See? She's Yoko Ono.
My poor wife, man. She's had to deal with the Raiders sucking for 14 years.
God, she jinxed it.
Hey, look, I'm not pointing fingers. So today's my anniversary. So my beautiful wife of 14 years, and exactly 5 years ago today. Yeah, you mentioned stats, and is it weird that we know these stats? 5 years ago today, I'm sitting right where I'm sitting now, different house, same desk, and I'm talking to our uncle. Okay, the Dego patriarch currently of the family, our Uncle Mark. I'm talking to him, and he goes, "What year was the last time the Raiders won the Super Bowl?" And I was like, yeah. I'm like, Marcus Allen, yeah. And he goes, who'd they play? I'm like, the Redskins. And he goes, who's their quarterback? I'm like, Jim Plunkett. And he goes, what number does Plunkett wear? I'm like, 16. He goes, where'd he go to school? I'm like, Stanford. I'm like, what the heck? And he goes, how come you know all this stuff and you don't know that yesterday was your anniversary? I'm like, oh, shoot. I'm like, oh my gosh. He goes, yeah, your wife texted my wife and said that you forgot your anniversary. He goes, and this is where it all come full circle back to the Raiders again too. He goes, did you notice that your wife gave you a gift yesterday? I'm like, yeah, she did. I just thought it was because she loved me. He goes, what did she get you? I'm like, she made me a Raiders blanket. He goes, why do you think she made you the blanket? It's because it's your goddamn anniversary and you forgot it was your anniversary. Yeah, busted. So needless to say, that was the first and last time I've forgotten our anniversary. And my poor wife, and a testament to how patient and what a saint she is. Here I am today, 5 years later, doing a podcast with you about the Raiders on our anniversary. Poor thing. She's like a Raider widow.
There's an old episode of Married with Children. You know, Kelly Bundy, Christina Applegate, second crush after Samantha Maselli.
I was just going to say the same thing.
That's
awesome.
Maselli,
yes, that is 1 and 2, definitely.
Samantha Maselli and Kelly Bundy are our generation's version of Ginger and Marianne. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Samantha Maselli all the way. You know, but anyway, so Kelly Bundy. There's an episode where Bud's, you know, they always made fun of her because she was an idiot and stuff, and basically how Kelly Bundy could only retain so much knowledge, and then she had to push other stuff out of her head. So, like, she could retain a couple facts here and there, but if she did, then the other facts would get removed from her head. And so it's kind of like us with sports. Like, I know everything about all these different players. When it comes to regular life, yeah, sometimes I'm kind of clueless sometimes, you know? But if you ever want to know how tall Michael Jordan is or how much somebody weighs, let me know on the Raiders. Anyway, is Amari Cooper getting enough balls thrown his way? Last game, he had.
Hey, according to Michael Sam, no.
Yeah, never enough. Right?
Sorry. There's nothing wrong with that. Save the email. I was just making a joke.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Just a joke. Just a joke.
Game 2 against the Falcons, he had 9 targets, 5 receptions. Game 1 against the Saints, 11 targets, 6 receptions. If you're throwing the ball 25, 30 times a game, that's a third of the passes are going his way. There were some people complaining about not enough. We have 83 pass attempts on the season, 58 completions. So 83 pass attempts on the season, 20 of those have gone to Cooper. So he's getting a fourth of the passes thrown his way. Should he get more? Are we not using our star wide receiver enough? Or are other defenses keying on him and taking him out of the game? Against the Falcons early on, if you remember, Julio wasn't doing anything for the first, 2 or 3 quarters? Him and Cooper both had like 1 or 2 catches, I think, up until the second half when Julio, started to break away and do Julio. Ended up with over 100 yards. If Cooper catches that one pass that he goes out of bounds, he has 6 receptions, over 100 yards, and has a touchdown. But he hasn't caught a touchdown in this season yet. He caught he got an extra point or a 2-point conversion. But what do you think? Is he getting the ball his way enough? Do we need to get him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you look at, you got him and Crabtree, right? So, I mean, Crabtree could arguably be a number one receiver on a lot of teams. So, I mean, you kind of got a 1 and 1A. And then after that, you got some good guys if you look at Seth Roberts and then,
I like
Holton.
I like Holton.
Yeah, Johnny Holton, man, he's great. A little speedster, you know what I mean? Absolutely. And then of course, Andre Holmes, to kind of go for the fade. In fact, I thought when they threw the fade in the end zone to Crabtree in the Saints game, I thought it was Holmes at first because he wears 18 and Crabtree's a 15. And I thought at first it was Holmes because I thought, that's a good idea. Get him to the big guy out there. But anyways, so I mean, there's a lot of targets now, and they hadn't even gotten the tight end position going yet. I'm surprised they were throwing it to Lee Smith. Quit that. Just quit that. Can we all agree that Lee Smith is not the answer to this offense?
Than Lee Smith could.
Yeah. So I mean, let's reduce those targets down. But like, what about when Reese comes back? Reese to me has been underutilized for ever. He can't be. He's only 31. I mean, he's not
a running back, and he's 31. I mean, is he done? I mean, for years we've all said Reese. He's been the savior, but he hasn't been played. But honestly, I think we just say that because it's like a scapegoat mentality, right? It's like, well, if only they played Reese, we'd be so much. No, he's not playing. He's not getting a lot of looks because of something. Something we don't see is happening behind the scenes. That's why he's not plugged in as much.
I don't agree. Well, right now he's out because he's out for 4 games because of the suspension. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why he's out now. Okay. All right. For the listener. Okay. So that's why he's out now. But, no, this Josh opinion, I'm not in the facility. This is just my thoughts on it. We all know what Reese's skill set is, and we all know that he could create mismatches by moving him around. And I think that the offensive coaches have felt that by moving him around and utilizing his mismatch, it creates opportunities for other players to get open. That's what I think. And in that, when you split Reese out in the slot, people are going to focus on that because he draws that attention out. And so when you draw that attention by getting him out of the fullback spot or out of the tight end position, because they'll split him out wide, remember?
Yeah. Well, he was a receiver at Washington.
Right, exactly. And so he can literally play anywhere as far as the offensive skill positions go. And I think when they do that, the offensive coaches use that as a way to try to create something for somebody else. That's what I think. And then he'll occasionally get the 3 yards in a cloud of dust carry, which I don't know why they don't get him more mobilized as far as, like when Reese first got on our radar, remember he was splitting seams. He would line up at tight end or fullback and he would run a seam route.
Why isn't he our tight end? That's
what I'm talking about. Well, that's what I'm saying.
For years. I did that in Madden with him and kill. Now, obviously, you can't take everything from Madden to real life, but he played receiver at Washington. He's good size. Why not put him at tight end? I don't understand.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Why that kind of stuff isn't done more frequently, I don't know.
He's not better than Wolford or Lee Smith. Come on, get out of here.
That's what I'm saying. Now, Lee Smith is a stud blocker. Okay, Lee Smith is a road grader, and I think he's by far the best blocking tight end we have. But the thing about Reese is that you don't have to sub out, and he could do the same things. Like, he could be the pass catcher, he could be the blocker, he could be a lot of things, and you don't have to sub out. So the defense shouldn't know what you're doing, ideally. So I don't know. I think that he's but come back around. So your question was about the pass distribution. It's only going to get worse as tight end play improves. We saw Michael Rivera have flashes at different points over the past couple of years. Walford looks like he's coming around. I mean, this guy's the leading tight end out of the University of Miami. Now, guess what? If you don't know about the tight ends that have come out of the University of Miami, Google that, okay? There's a lot of rock stars that have come out of the University of Miami that have played tight end, and this guy was the one that was leading them all, okay? So Walford's got the potential physically to be an absolute stud in the league. I think he's going to come around. I don't know. His ceiling is yet to be seen, but he's certainly going to get better and demand more attention and demand more more passes coming his way. So as far as the distribution goes, I think the distribution is fine. If we were losing by 20 in these first two games, I might have a different answer. But as long as the run game is going to be used effectively, that overall is going to reduce the amount of touches that these guys are going to get, or amount of receptions these guys are going to get, because they're not going to have as many targets because you're running the ball more often. So that's going to reduce it down. And then when you look at the amount of weapons that Carr has, there's 4, 5, 6 guys that are, arguable targets every play. So the fact that Cooper's getting a fourth of them, yeah, I think that's fair. And then as he improves, and we know that his ceiling has yet to be determined, he could be another Antonio Brown or whatever, not quite as fast, but we'll see. He's going to create his own opportunity. So he'll probably naturally get more stuff coming his direction as his career matures.
Who handles balls better, Cooper or Crabtree?
Oh, Crabtree, no doubt.
Yeah, he catches more. First game caught 77.8% of his catches. Game 2 caught 80% of his catches. Game 1 was 9 targets, 7 receptions. Game 2, 5 targets, 4 receptions. Cooper, first game, 11 targets, 6 receptions, 54%. And game 2, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 55%.
You know what I like about Crabtree's game, to me, as he's maturing, is that he's, early on when he came out, there was the knock on him as, he's soft.
And he dropped. Remember when he came out, he was Texas Tech, right? When he came out, the knock on him was he drops balls.
Right. And the fact that now he's becoming, I'm not comparing him to Anquan Boldin, because Anquan Boldin in his prime was one of the most physical receivers out there.
The catch that he made in the playoffs?
Oh,
unreal.
My gosh, dude. Unreal, man. And so he's got vice grips for hands, man. It's like, but Crabtree is becoming a lesser version of that. Like he's when you watch that fade route in the end zone against New Orleans, that was a contested play. He didn't just go out and extend for that thing and catch it away from his body. He wrestled that thing down. Like he's become a physical possession wide receiver. I dig it, man. I mean, when was the last time we had somebody like that? You think of even all the Raider greats from Blitnikoff to Branch to, Timmy Brown. None of them were that kind of guy. They were all guys that were getting away and catching the ball out and away from their body. Our tight ends were always it was the Todd Christensens. It was the Dave Caspers. Those were the guys that were our big possession type wide receivers, our big possession type receivers. But now, heck, or even Zach Miller. If you think about when Zach Miller was really good there.
Yeah,
for a few
I like
years,
Zach.
That's what he was great, man. Too bad, his career got derailed by injuries. But those were our guys. Those were our big guys that were going to go in there and we're really going to fight for a catch. Now we got a wide receiver that's kind of becoming that. Again, I don't have any delusions that he's like a guy like a Bolden, but he's becoming that.
Well,
and that's awesome.
Let's look at the numbers. We look at Anquan Boldin for his whole entire career. The highest catch percentage he ever had through playing all 16 games was 65.9% in 2013, playing for the Niners when he was 33 years old. He caught 65% of the balls thrown his way. And he caught 85 catches, 85 out of 129. It was actually the third most he was ever targeted as well. So actually fourth most he was ever targeted, besides his early days with the Cardinals. So 65.9%. Crabtree hasn't been playing as long, but he's only played 4 seasons where he played every single game, and the highest percentage he has is 66.9%. 2012, 127 balls, caught 85 of them for 1,100 yards. So in all honesty, he actually has had a better season than Boldin, and I think that's a great comparison. He's becoming that vice grip guy, which might be why he was the guy we chose to throw to on that 2-point conversion in game 1. So,
yeah, I mean, if I'm Derek Carr, or if I'm even more so, if I'm Jack Del Rio or Bill Musgrave, and I'm dependent on one
he's
receiver,
your receiver,
regardless of position, he's your guy.
Okay.
That's the guy you want to throw the ball to. I trust him more than anybody else to make the catch over anybody else on the field. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that he was a sneaky good addition. I know it was a little bit of a touted signing, and because of at the draft, and he said he didn't want to play for the Raiders, and we took Hayward Bay instead of him. That whole thing. Speaking of can't catch, but so there was a lot.
He was fast.
My God, he was that. But there was a lot to the Crabtree signing that got understated, and I think that's a big part of it, was the fact that this guy, as you did a great job of detailing out, this guy's becoming one of the best possession wide receivers there is. I mean, aside from a Patriot, I mean, he's up. I mean, who else would you? Let me ask you a good question. Here's a question: If you had to take, okay, I was going to say, if you had to take 3 guys, possession guys, ahead of him, who do you take? You're right. Fitz is the number one that comes to mind. Edelman, to me, is there a third?
I was just going to look up Edelman's numbers right now. As far as possession off top of the dome, Antonio Brown, I mean, that guy just gets open.
But he's not.
I know.
Yeah, he's a different
level. Not a
level.
possession, but he gets open, man. He's good.
He's a different level. You're talking about the elite of the elite. I mean, that guy's
the
best.
You said
not only is he the best wide receiver in football, but sure. But I mean, I'm talking about guys that are, just like I said, if you had to, if you needed a guy to muscle out a catch over
Here's
the middle.
Edelman's. His best year, 2013, 151 targets, 105 catches, 105 yards, 69.5% of the time catching the ball.
That's pretty solid, dude.
I mean,
that's pretty
70% catching the ball. That's unreal, dude.
That's unreal. And that's the Brady Belichick factor and all that. That's So I mean, but obviously a lot of it comes down to his talent.
Coming up, and I want to touch on this real quick too.
Okay.
I want to try to do this podcast every week, but since it's been 2 games, the 2-point conversion. I think as Raiders fans, we need to realize we are this close, and I'm putting my putting my fingers up real close. We are this close to being 0-2, right? Yeah. I mean, we are this close to being 0-2, and we're this close to being 2-0. I mean, if you think about the tip ball, that stupid whoever caught it in the end zone for the touchdown against us, and then brutal. And I think sometimes we're crazy, right? Because everybody's like, how do you play position on tip ball? We were out of position. No, it was a tip ball. It's a random occurrence. That guy was in the position to make it. If you watch it, no Raider player was in position to catch that ball. So it was luck, man. It was just,
it's random. It's random. It's a fluke play.
Everybody's like, we should have been in better position. We should have jumped better. We should have jumped at a 36-degree. Shut the hell up. It was a jump ball in the end zone, and we didn't have good position. So moving forward, and I guess this is football to a certain degree, but really it's different because the 2-point conversion was the play of that week. I mean, everybody talked about it. Nobody does that. It was a ballsy move. But man, think about what Raider fans are saying now if that play failed. If we're 0-2,
they're fire Del Rio. Get rid of Del Rio.
Heads. We're calling for heads if we're not 0-2. But at the same time, we're literally almost 2-0. So while we're all pissed off at the defense, we're still in good shape. But at this point, pretender or contender in the playoffs? What do you think? Right now.
I think we're a contender. I really do. And of course I'm going to be biased, and of course there's going to be fandom speaking. But if I really try to separate from that, I try to separate the silver and black blood out of my body and think with my brain, I really think there's a good chance for us, because I think that the Raiders are good enough to have a winning record this year, which will be great, to go, 10-6. I think they're capable of a 10-6 record. I think that within our division, despite the lights out play of the Denver defense,
I hate them, but damn.
Oh my gosh, they are amazing. But despite that, at some point, the Trevor Siemian effect is going to show up, and it's going to cost you 3, 4, 5 games. If you think I'm crazy, look at last year when the Brock Osweiler effect showed up. Okay, eventually it's going to catch up.
Aren't you happy you're a Texans fan? You stole Brock Osweiler away from Broncos.
What? Oh my gosh, brutal, dude.
Hey, I hate freaking donkey tooth face Elway, but they pulled a fast one on the Texans, that's for sure.
They pulled a fast one on the absolutely. They sure did.
Anyway.
They sure did. So anyway, so that's going to show. So we are going to have a chance in our division, okay? And then aside from that, say the Donkeys, say Trevor Siemian turns out to be the next John Elway, and they run it out, and they go 14-2.
Trevor Siemian does not have the teeth structure to be John Elway. So calm yourself, okay?
Nor does he have the neck structure and forehead structure to be Peyton Manning.
Calcium retention to be John Elway, okay?
Man, nor the leaf crunching ability of a Peyton Manning.
He does not have the elongated esophagus to be a Peyton Manning, if you will. Or the 5-head. Go ahead.
The 5-head, the one where they show IMAX movies on his forehead after the games are over.
4K.
Okay, so I think Denver's going to be down. Then you look at the AFC as a whole. Okay, the Texans stink, okay, or at least stink in compared to the elite of the AFC, which we saw last night, because that elite of the AFC hadn't even gotten elite yet, and they still beat the snot out of them. So that's coming. So the AFC South is probably only going to give you one playoff team. I doubt. We'll see what the Titans look like, and this is a big deal for the Raiders coming up this week.
This is a big game. Big game.
It's a big game. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so the AFC South is only going to give you one team. The East probably is only going to give you one team.
That's a 1-1. Maybe the Dolphins and Bills.
Maybe the Jets get in there. So your teams are going to go. So it's going to be Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Okay, so you're going to, and maybe the Ravens. So your wild card contenders are likely going to come out of the North. So that leaves us. So can an AFC West team contend for that second wild card spot? The answer to that question is yes. It's a resounding yes, because if all of the competitive teams in the AFC are the most competitive as far as division winners go, if they're all in the same damn division, then they're all going to be beating each other. So Pittsburgh's going to lose, the Ravens are going to lose, and Cincinnati, one of those three teams are guaranteed to lose whenever they play each other. So that means that collectively nobody in that division as a wild card is probably going to have more than, 12, 11 probably wins, and maybe even 10. So does that put the Raiders in that group? Yeah. So it's we beat the Donkeys in Denver last year. We're capable of winning these games in our division. So as long as we do what we do and the schedule is favorable, we went on the road and beat the Saints in New Orleans. If you told me before the year started we were going to win opening day,
Saints were 7-9 last year. Let's not.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It was good. I know. We won the game. It doesn't. I know it was good. But again,
it doesn't matter.
We didn't.
Hold on. Let me finish. I'm almost done.
We barely.
That's a game though that we usually would lose.
I'll give you that.
That's a game the Raiders normally lose. So if the inverse of that is you're going to lose in New Orleans, but you're going to win at home against the Falcons and be 1-1 after week 2. All right, that sounds about right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this season is not lost. Look, I know we got issues, and the Raiders got issues, and there's a lot to address. But this season ain't over. This thing's a long way from being done, and they are definitely, I think, going to be a contender. Now, whether they close it out or not, I don't know. I mean, heck, it wasn't all that long ago when the Raiders were freaking we were 8-2 going into the freaking back half of the season.
Jason Campbell era, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, 6-2 back half of the season and ended up losing our final 8 games, wherever the heck it was. I don't remember exactly. But that was the year that we let Tim Tebow sneak into the damn playoffs, okay? So, yes, right now, I think they're a contender. It's too early to say that they're not. And anybody that's ready to jump ship, have fun, enjoy your swim, man, because I'm staying here on the Raider wagon.
Okay. My fandom side of me wants to say the Raiders are going to go 14, 15-1 through the season.
Right now, by the way. Fired up.
They're going to go 15-1, and they're going to have the best record in all of football. The intellectual side of me, the trying to be objective, they don't make the
The responsible media host.
they don't make the playoffs, Josh. They
don't talk to me
they
like
go 8-8 maybe, but until I can see, because here's what I think. For $100, Josh, blank wins championships. Go.
that. Patriots.
Shut up, you Patriot honk. We're supposed to hate the Patriots. We're Raiders fans.
Oh, you mean defense?
Yes. As great our offense.
You mean what, not who? Like, who would you? Patriots do.
We're going to turn the ball over. There is no team in history that's ever gone the full year. I don't think so. There can't be, right? There's no team in history that's ever gone a whole year without turning the ball over. So we're going to turn the ball over. Jack Del Rio must have had a faith conversion because he's been getting quite lucky on 2-point conversions, 4th down attempts, challenges. That's going to run out quickly. You don't want to win games based on that, which is kind of what, to a certain degree, we've been having luck on our side. That's going to go down the wayside. Carr's going to have a bad game. We're not going to run the balls effectively. All these things are going to start to kind of mellow out, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too pessimistic. But let me finish. Let me finish.
And then I got a question for you.
The defense, it's all on the defense. And through 2 games, I cannot sit here and say, from what I've seen, this is a playoff team. It just is not. It just is not. If I would, and lightning strike me now, the Broncos are in a better position to make the playoffs than we are because they have the great defense. And so that's what I'm saying. You'd rather have
that defense alone wins you 10
That's what I'm saying. And so until we can start to gel and until I can start to see them gelling, I can't sit here and say, yeah, that's a playoff team. Because also, I don't want to rip my heart out at the end of the year when they don't make the playoffs.
Oh, it's going to rip your heart out no matter what.
Well,
So
but I can prepare for it a little bit in advance.
All right, you ready? Rapid fire. I just want win or lose. Rapid fire. At Titans.
Lose.
At Ravens.
That wasn't really rapid fire. That was a long pause.
Well, I'm writing. Okay, sorry. I'll go faster because you caught me off guard. You think they're going to lose the Titans?
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Rapid fire. All right, hold on. I'm going to make 2 columns. W, L. Okay. At Titans.
Lose.
At Ravens. Chargers in Oakland.
Win.
Chiefs in
Win.
Oakland. Jaguars.
Where?
At Jaguars.
Lose. Actually, win. Jaguars suck.
At Buccaneers.
Win.
Broncos in Oakland. Sunday Night Football. NBC.
I will be there.
Game.
Win. I'm going to that game, by the way.
That's awesome. November 6th. That's a Sunday night game. I didn't know that.
Yeah, bro. Telling you.
Oh, my God.
Villas.
Texans in Oakland.
Win.
Panthers in Oakland.
Oh, that could be a blowout game. If our defense don't get it together, you see what Cam did against the Niners?
That's almost your year right there.
If we can beat them,
you can beat anybody. If you can beat the Panthers in Oakland, you can beat anybody.
That right now, lose.
Okay, me too. Bills in Oakland.
Win.
Okay. At Chiefs.
Win.
NFL Network.
Win.
Okay. At Chargers.
Win.
Colts in Oakland.
Colts are not looking good this year, bro. I'm going to say a win because it's a home.
At Broncos.
Is that the last game of the year?
Last game of the season. Which means they've already got their spot locked up. They're probably resting their starters.
It depends. That's a toss-up. I'm going to say, because I'm a Raiders fan, that's a win.
Okay. Now, Sonny, tell me what the Titans. Tell me what the Raiders' record is right now.
1-1.
Okay. So plus the 11 wins you just gave them.
Shit! See, I'm speaking like a fanboy. I can't do it.
Come on, they're a playoff team, dude. How do they? Okay, look. Say you're wrong on 3 of those games. That's still 10 wins. Wait,
No.
right? 11, 12, 9 wins. That's still 9-7, which that would.
9-7.
So you say you're wrong 12.
9-7.
So yeah. So I mean, dude. So it's there. It's there for the taking. Especially.
I agree. It's there. It just depends on the defense. It depends on the defense.
Depends on a lot of it. Well, it starts this weekend. So let's now. You mentioned you're going to the game on November 6th. Gosh, I wish I was going so bad. But I am going this Sunday. As you know, I live now in Middle Tennessee. I don't live in the Bay Area anymore. Yes, we are from the Bay Area, so we're not pretenders here, guys. We're legit, born and bred San Jose boys. So that's where we came up, Oakland Raider fans.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, but we're not allowed. Yeah, according to some quote super fans, we're not allowed to have an opinion about being Raider fans because we don't live in the Bay Area anymore. But anyways, I live outside of Middle Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee, outside of Nashville, and I'm going to the game this weekend where a team that I definitely support because they're local and they're great and a lot to root for, Tennessee Titans, take on the Oakland Raiders. And Sonny, after this week, one of those teams will be 2-1. Now, the Titans just went into Detroit and beat Detroit in their house late in the game when Mariota threw a touchdown pass to Andre Johnson, very similar to the way that the Raiders went into New Orleans and beat the Saints. So 2 very similar wins against 2 very similar teams. I think this is a big deal for both of these teams. One of them is going to come out 2-1 and in good shape in their division, especially the Titans, with the Texans going down last night. So they could actually be an early kind of a contention for first place. Of course, the Raiders are going to be looking up at the Broncos until they lose. But this is kind of a big deal. This is kind of for a week 3 game. This is kind of a big deal for both teams. And I'm curious to see now with the issues that we've talked about all, this show long, do those defensive issues show up on the road against a pretty good offense, maybe not necessarily in the passing game, but their running game is legit with Murray and Derrick Henry. Dude, if you want to talk about testing that front 7, they're going to get a handful of number 22 and number 29 this weekend.
Who's the tight end for the Titans?
Probably one of the best in football, not named Gronkowski, Delaney Walker.
That's a loss. Am I wrong?
Well, remember when we went? No, you remember when we went last year? Who was the only player on the Titans offense that made plays?
Delaney Walker.
Freaking Delaney Walker.
And we still won, but it was a close game. We won at the very end of the game. This year, tight ends are destroying us, and the Saints and the Falcons don't have anybody good at playing tight end. So we're actually going to play a team with a good tight end, and we haven't faced a scrambling quarterback yet. Now, Mariota doesn't run nearly like he did at Oregon, and I watched him all his Oregon career. He doesn't run nearly as much as he did, but he can still scramble. So you're telling me our defense is supposed to go from being the historically worst defense through 2 games in the history of the NFL since the merger that our famed owner had a big hand in creating, all praise to Al Davis. We're supposed to go from that defense who couldn't cover mediocre tight ends to a defense who's supposed to contain not only a great tight end, but also a scrambling quarterback? No. And I hope they prove me wrong, but I don't see how in 7 days we can make all those adjustments. I hope they do it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I come on next week and eat crow, but I don't see it.
According to you, they're going to lose to the Titans on the road and yet beat the Panthers at home. So,
I said lose to the Panthers.
Cam Newton is a bigger, stronger, faster version.
No,
you did say lose. Okay, that's right.
I mean, do you really think they're going to make that many adjustments in a week? Come on now.
Here's what I think. I think that the Titans, despite their capabilities with Mariota and with Delaney Walker and their running game, okay, despite that, they are not. You want to talk about a bad defense? Dude, Parrish Cox got destroyed last week against the Lions, and thankfully for him, he came up with the pick at the end of the game to win it for them, and so he went back into the good graces. But dude was getting lit up, blew so many coverages, so many pass interference calls, and he's all they got. Like they got him and McCourty. And that's it. Like, and Bryce McCain, who's their slot guy, even he's questionable. I think this is going to be a shootout, and the Titans are not equipped for a shootout. They're just not. Our offense is going to smoke that Tennessee defense, and they don't have enough. Yes, they got some. Yeah, they can grind out wins. Mike Mularkey, the coach of the Titans, calls it an exotic smash mouth offense, and that's exactly what they are. And hey, you shut the suck up, okay? So I'm just talking about their kicking game. So when you look at the way they're built, if they had a good defense, dude, and if they build one over time, they're gonna grind fools up, man. They really are. They got some maulers on that offensive line. They got great running backs, as you mentioned. They got a quarterback that can get it downfield and has got escapability. So when it comes to, if they have good defensive play and they can keep the hands out of the opposition's, quarterback, or keep the ball out of the hands of the opposition's quarterback, if they can get to that point, they're going to be a very good football team. But they're not there yet. Derek Carr is going to go bananas on this secondary. Dude, book it. This is going to be his first 400-yard game. I promise you. He's going to smoke these guys.
I hope so. I don't see it. I don't see it. We should have a weekly bet. Somebody has to do something if their prediction's wrong, or whoever wins the game that week.
Why don't, when the Raiders win this week, you come on the air and sing "I'm a Little Teapot"?
Okay.
Deal. Okay.
Deal. Book it.
Okay. I'll take the tie. No spread. Straight up.
Now tell me, it's going to be you and me together. Oh. What song is that from?
You and me together. I don't know.
Straight up. Now tell me, it's going to be you and me together.
Oh.
Paula Abdul, bro. Come on.
Yeah. Sorry.
1990.
I was more of a I don't know. I can't even think of another pop singer. More of a Sheena Easton guy.
Oh yeah, Sheena Easton.
Yeah.
Bad. Okay, Murph, we're out of time. It's been good. It's good to get back.
Oh my gosh, this is fun, man. This is
talking
fun.
Talking family was boring. Let's talk about something fun.
I told my wife we're going to do a Raider podcast, and she goes, "Yeah, because you guys don't know shit about anything else."
Basically. All right. Schedule moving forward. We want to release the podcast every Tuesday or Wednesday. Releasing on Wednesdays or Tuesdays? We're recording Tuesday.
I don't know,
Releasing
man.
Wednesday. Every week there'll be a new podcast. Our goal is to get it out every Wednesday. We're not in-depth Raider analysis. We don't live in Oakland. We're from there. We're lifelong Raiders fans. All we know is how to be a Raiders fan from our fathers. We've been chasing the 1970s version of the Raiders our whole entire lives because that's all we ever heard growing up as kids. But at the end of the day, we're just Raiders fans who want to see our team win, like to talk about it, and we encourage you guys to talk about it as well. Eventually, we want to get a live show right after the game on Sundays, live call-in. Let's talk about it together. In addition to this podcast, which will be weekly during the season, and then maybe weekly, monthly when the off-season is here as well. Find us on Libsyn. We'll be on Twitter at the Degos, Libsyn, the Degos. The podcast is called the Raiders Riportare. Find it on iTunes as well. Murph, anything else you want to say?
That's it, man. Go Raiders, Raider Nation forever, man. I can't wait. This is fun stuff. Great show. Can't wait. Look forward to this season. And, yeah, that's it. Go
Good
Raiders.
stuff. Go Raiders.